Hey friends, how you doing this morning? It's going to be another really hot day, so we are out here early because it is mow and trim day at the farm. We are overgrown once again, and so I want to get this whole thing cleaned up. And then I thought I would give you a little tour of the farm because right now everything is just exploding and it looks amazing. You know, it's very ironic that summertime is always our best time in terms of the amount of flowers and how happy and healthy everything is. But it is also the slowest time of year for florists, for farmer florists, for flower farmers. Very few people purchase flowers in the summertime. There are very few. It used to be people always thought June was wedding season. That is not the case anymore. Weddings tend to happen in April and May, and then like September, October timeframes. Summers through most of the country at this point are too hot. People just aren't getting married in the summertime. I mean, in general. So, and then people are on vacation and traveling and stuff. So there's really very little market for our flowers. So that's the irony, is when we have the most flowers, the most abundance, there's very little market for them. So it's a challenge. In fact, there are some flower farmers in some parts of the country who only grow for spring and fall, and they take the summers off because they have found that it's just not financially feasible. And I got that. Okay, I'm going to put my book on. I am listening to Regime Change by Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan. And it's pretty enlightening, pretty eye-opening, pretty depressing, but good, amazing reporting if you have not read it. So I'm going to put that book on and I will take out my aggressions on all of the weeds. Crazy, so many weeds. It's odd because normally this time of year, everything else looks like it's brown and dried like the rest of the area, but I guess there's just enough moisture in the soil here that weeds are still growing, especially by the pumpkins and stuff, and that makes sense because those are irrigated. But yeah, so let's get this done, and then we will have a nice little farm tour. always forget how absolutely exhausting that work is. I think it's because I'm pushing a mower up and down hills, and that hedge trimmer is very heavy. So yeah, whoo, that was a lot of work, but it looks way better. So I thought we would start down here at the bottom of the farm, and I can give you an update on what things look like and then also on what the plans are for fall. So we'll start with the Alstroemeria bed. It also has, as you can see, some Summerberries yarrow in it and Agastache, and I can't remember the variety there. And I think, honestly, this is just a giant weed because that doesn't look like anything that I planted. I'll take it out, but I'm kind of waiting for it to flower just to see what it is. And I could probably use it. I mean, it's not pokey, so you know, things are always only called weeds because we don't want them there. If this ends up being a useful plant, I'll keep it. So we are still producing Alstroemeria. I just harvested the whole farm 2 days ago. So, you know, it's looking a little sparse right now, but that's because I just pulled, I don't know, 30 or 40 stems out of here. This has been blooming. These Alstroemeria have been blooming since March, and it is now mid-July. This plant will not stop. As long as you harvest, and by pulling, you don't cut, you just pull the stems, it just keeps pumping out all the blooms. It is amazing. So I would like to add more of these to the farm, but I want to add like peachy white varieties because they just work way better in the spring. And the plan then would be to put them in this row, which has not been made yet. These are the perennial beds at the farm. Now we do need to come in, and so you can see the mums down there. What we need to do is in this half, I need to add soil, top it all up. And in this half, I think I need to chunk out some of this soil. But this stuff isn't so bad. It's the only real reason things aren't growing here is shade. And this does get sun, but not until around noon. So it's good enough for the mums. They actually appreciate a little bit of shade in the afternoon because we get so hot here. Anyway, this bed will be dug a little bit deeper. We will lay here's some birdies. We will lay the cage out, fill it all up with compost, and this is where I plan to put more Alstroemeria. And I'm going to take a bunch of cuttings from the mums and add some more to the perennial beds this year. But the mums are looking great. I probably should have come in and pinched them, but it's okay because they are already pretty branched. I would like to add more branching, but we're good for now because I do want these guys to flower on time. Actually, this white one is already starting to flower. You see that? So I need to come in here and disbud that. We don't want them to flower this early. I need those guys for September. But in this bed, we also have Rudbeckia. We've got Prairie Sun and Sahara. And I'm assuming this is also the Sahara, which is kind of a mix of colors. Then we have Mountain Mint. Now, this is not really going to be good to use until next year, but it is an amazing filler. And that's the reason it's here in the perennial part of the garden, because I want this to be something I can harvest on all the time. Once the corn comes out, we'll be able to get this third bed done. Speaking of the corn, it is looking amazing. Super tall, developing ears. We've got some great ones here in the Martian Jewel. This one's getting really close. I checked it the other day. Still needs some more time, but it's huge. And you can see we've got more growing here. And they have tasseled and they have been pollinated. So the pollen falls down from there onto these tassels, which each one represents an individual kernel or seed. So yeah, we've got lots of ears going in here. Looks like we've got some aphids on that. That's gross. Sometimes you get earwigs in there too. But yeah, lots of ears of corn. I am so happy with this, you guys. Can't even tell you, after so many years of just destruction of my crops. This just makes me so, so happy. And we direct sowed this. It's looking amazing. Pumpkins. These guys are also doing really well. I'm so glad I came through here with the hedge trimmer. So out of this single basket, we have 2 abominable pumpkins, one on each, run from the pumpkin, from the basket there. This one looking really good. I don't know how big these are going to get. I'm curious. This is mashed potato squash. We have 3 of them on here. You can see that's an acorn squash variety. Those still will get much, much bigger, but actually we have more than 3. Quite a few, which is great. Over here we have the black cat pumpkin. I love this one. We have more of these at home. Again, they'll get bigger. We have another one hiding back in there. You can't even see it. This is Casparita, little white pumpkins. We have more of these at home as well. And then over here, we have a mix of things. So we've got a Howden pumpkin vine, but I don't see any fruit on it. However, it did flower very late. And then we have a Jack Be Little, and you can see little pops of orange through here. The Jack Be Little is just sprawling and spreading itself. This is a watermelon, and we do have an itty bitty watermelon fruit there. So I'm gonna try to keep that lady protected. But yeah, some of these I don't know that are gonna do anything. This is a Seminole squash. It just has never really produced and it got kind of trampled. So that's totally fine. And then we chop down all of these weeds, which necessary because now that they flowered, they're gonna go to seed and just spread themselves more. But that's the best we're gonna do. It'll dry out and it'll just still be there. Okay, dahlias. So these guys I just harvested, so there's not that many to look at right now, and they need to be fertilized, but we've been getting dozens of stems off of this stand, and I'm just thrilled. Best dahlia season we've had in 5 years at least. This is the orange Moran. Here's another one down here that's kind of a little aged. She's faded a bit, but still absolutely beautiful. So yeah, lots of dahlias. Thrilled, absolutely thrilled. Making this raised bed was the best thing we could have done. And of course, I see that the soil has settled a bit, which is understandable. So in the fall, when we cut all these back, we will add more soil to top the whole thing up. Then we're going to put a big thick mulch over the top of it so that we don't grow a whole bunch of weeds. And make sure that we turn off the irrigation. We'll just twist these little lines here, and then they will sit in here over the winter. We might come and cover it with a tarp. It just depends on how much rain we get, so that they won't rot out, but I think they're going to be great for next year. Sweet peas. Honestly, I cannot believe these things are still producing flowers. I have not picked on them in weeks and weeks. But lots of pods. I'm going to harvest some more here. And keep these for seed and share them around. This is the bed that I'm thinking about taking apart and growing our determinate tomatoes in. It's got irrigation in it. All I have to do is come through here and pull up all these sweet peas, which is not hard because they're pretty much mostly dead. Just cut them off at the base, pull them all out, and then we can add a layer of compost and plant our determinate tomatoes. And they'll be great. This is a gopher cage bed too, so they'll be protected. And the last thing to look at this part of the farm, on the bottom end here, is this 8x4 bed. In the spring, we had larkspur in here, and they did amazing. And now we've got zinnias. I have pinched these, and you can see, because I pinched them, now we got multiple branching coming off, so we'll have lots and lots of flowers from individual plants. Yeah, they're looking great. I should be able to start harvesting on these in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I want these guys to get really open completely so they're big and blousy. I mean, I could harvest some of them now, but they're not as pretty as when they get cupcake-like. Okay, moving into annual row crops. So this row here, we have emptied this out, and this is all, we dug all this out. It is all fresh compost. And I did direct sow sunflowers and they have never germinated. So question there is, and I know it's not water because I can see where the water is running. The question here is it just sun? Because those were direct sown and they are looking great. So again, we need to hire a tree company to come out and cut back a lot of these oaks. They're just creating too much shade. And we need sun on these beds if we expect to grow anything. But these sunflowers are looking fantastic. And we've been harvesting sunflowers every week. We keep planting them every week. This section here is pretty much harvested out. I haven't pulled it to dig the bed yet because those are so pretty and the bees are loving them. So I'm not harvesting those. I'm just letting these giant seeds, these giant heads go to seed. We will harvest some of these seeds and we might just take the big heads and give one to the chickens and leave the others out for birds. But the only section of this bed that still needs to be dug out is from the start of these sunflowers here to right here, because all of this has already been excavated and replaced with good stuff. So these guys are happy and healthy. We just have this little section to chunk out. And we did direct sow sunflower seeds over here, and you can see they are germinating. So we will have our next round in this section of the bed. Next door, we've got some Lisianthus, which I don't think are really going to do much. This, again, this is the crappy soil, so this needs to be excavated at some point. These sunflowers we've been harvesting on. This is the White Knight variety, so it's a lighter color petal with the dark center, whereas this right here is White Knight, so lighter colored petal, light center. But yeah, this little mix here, just pumping them out, and we are harvesting this. You can see how decimated it's gotten from caterpillars. This is a sunflower that just sowed itself in the middle of the pathway, and I left it because I have harvested probably 20 stems off of this thing. And it's still putting out little side shoots, as you can see. So I'm just going to leave this guy here. Even once it's producing stems that are too short for me to use, the bees love it, and so do the birds. So we've got our sunflowers here. This is another succession right here. And then I did sow more in here, and they haven't germinated yet. And then we put zinnias here. So these were the ones we just planted last week. Now these beds, this is poppies. This all needs to come out, and we need to have fresh soil filled in here because this is pretty terrible soil. Bad drainage, which is why these poppies never really got big and they didn't give me long stems. But it's okay. We'll clear all that out. The straw flower is doing pretty good. Usually these plants are, see how these plants look here? Yes, they're blooming, but look at the foliar growth. And then look at the foliar growth here. You see the difference? That's all about soil and drainage. That foliar growth is so much better. So we're gonna clear out this whole, look at that little butterfly. We're gonna clear out this whole bed once they're all done, and we will chunk all the soil out and replace it. That's it for sure. But yeah, we've got this is the vintage white variety. I'm not sure, I'll have to look up on which one of these I planted. But this one, Silvery Rose, is one of my favorites. So pretty. And then you got that papery sound. So we've got kind of a mix down here. And then the vintage white, and then this is like a hot mix. And I don't remember exactly. These might be king size orange. But these guys are really best harvested right at about this stage here. Because once they open completely, like this, then they start to, first of all, drop pollen everywhere, and then they start to, I don't know, look kind of overused and not as pretty, and this pollen part becomes brown. So I really like to harvest them as early as I can, but if you harvest them too early, then they get floppy and they don't support themselves. So there is a fine line there, but yeah, they're super pretty. I love straw flower. So these are great additions in bouquets. The sound that they make, their just distinctive appearance. I just love them. And see, this is vintage white once it blooms out. And you just, you know, kind of looks like a bit of like a daisy, but this turns brown really quickly. Okay, this bed is just gonna get extra soil when the season's done, but Daucus, lots of chocolate lace flower, harvesting on that. Got a tiny bit of status here that I left when we replanted this, and we sowed sunflower seeds and they are already germinating. And then these are Lisianthus that just really did not thrive. I think it was too wet, again, poor drainage, but we're gonna get some out of it. This is a purple variety, blooming really short at home. We're getting nice long stems on this same exact variety. Actually, I think they refer to this as blue, but yeah, they're really cool. This is Scabiosa that has been here, keeps coming back every year. We've got Black Knight in here, that's the dark red, and then white, and then Fama white, which is kind of a almost champagne-y color. I love this. But yeah, I just cut these guys down every year and they keep coming back because they direct sow themselves everywhere. Same thing with these snapdragons. However, they are too small to really do anything with. They're too short. So again, this year I'll cut everything down. We will fill this whole basket with lots of soil and we'll be good for next year. Now, these Lizzie are starting up. These are the red variety. This one was red a few days ago. It is fading. Kind of reminds me of that Roseanne Brown. I think this is Arena Red. But nice long stems on these. And then we've been harvesting on these Beige Neo, which I love. Deadhead this guy here. Yeah, they're kind of like slightly pink. And then they start out in this like limey color and then they change to this like slightly pink color. And then when they're super aged, they go kind of more like that. So yeah, these guys are great. I'm hoping to get more stems. Where we have cut, I need to come in this week and give everything a heavy dose of fertilizer because they will rebloom for me around September if I fertilize them really hard. Then here we have Cynoglossum. This is Chinese forget-me-not. I think this is Firmament, the variety. Love this plant. I want it to keep coming back over and over again in this section because it produces so many stems and it is a true blue flower. Okay, before we leave these lower beds, just take a look at these dahlias. I think the variety is Shooting Stars. They were from Floret, from seed. This is their third year and they are just wonderful. I am deadheading them religiously so that they keep coming back and producing more and more stems. And I basically just leave these for the bees. I'm not really harvesting them for bouquets. They're nice open faces and they're just gorgeous. And then we have our Moonstone Yarrow here, which I'm not harvesting on. I want it to establish itself. And then we have our Chocolate Cosmos back there. That should come back for us next year because it'll drop its seed. And we have some Baptisia as well. Okay, last upper beds here. We have a big stretch of Daucus. I'm not going to get too close to it. You can see it is covered in bees. I love this so much. This is probably 15 feet. And it's here because it direct sowed itself. Last year it was right here where these dying snapdragons are. And it dropped all of its seed on this bed and we just let it be. And that's what you get. So love this plant. I always grow it. Each individual plant produces like 30 or more stems throughout the season. And then down there, where we removed all the soil, the beans are germinating. Isn't that great? So this is going to be our cover crop in here. We've got beans coming up everywhere, even in the shade. And we will let this get real big, at least wherever they come up. They will form a nice big canopy. Then we'll cut them down and use them as a living mulch on top of this soil for the winter. And they will have fixed a lot of nitrogen for us, so it'll be great. But then we'll need to dig out from the Daucus, that whole section. We still need to excavate and put fresh soil in. Then we've got this section here, which we still need to finish. I was being harassed by a bee last time we were out here, so I didn't finish it, but we'll finish this section and then start on here, because as you can see, the snapdragons have been skeletonized. There are tons of caterpillars in here. And I didn't bother trying to do anything about it because these were pretty much done. But yeah, you can see how they've completely skeletonized all the stems. So I didn't even bother harvesting snapdragons this week, because even the few that still looked good, they have no leaves and they're getting some aphids and rust. So they're done. They're done for the season. We'll pull all these out, and this entire bed needs to be excavated and filled with fresh soil. Same for this bed. And now there's nothing holding us back from doing it because there's nothing else in here. I'm not going to pull these out until we are digging it, because they are still living plants feeding the soil. So yeah, but this whole bed needs to be done. And then over here, we've got zinnias coming up, even in this hard, crappy soil. They're holding their own. These feverfew were planted in October. And as you can imagine, they should be nice and big. They are not, and they will not get nice and big. This is that clay compacted soil. So all of this needs to come out. This is almost 2 years old now. It's giving me a few stems, but all of it needs to come out. We will start fresh with new feverfew. Grasses, we've got millets in here I've been harvesting on. They'll keep coming. And then our zinnias. This was, I think, our first succession. I just did a huge harvest in here 2 days ago, but you can still see so many. And the reason I didn't continue to harvest all of these is that not all of them are completely open. They still have some petals to come, and you can tell, it's like if you look right here, these are individual petals that still have not opened. So this flower will get thicker. Now this one is now done because you can see the ring of the pollen. So yeah, if you let them go until all of those individual petals in the middle have opened up, then they'll get bigger like this. This one still has a few to unfurl. So yeah. Then we have basil that I've been harvesting on. This is celosia, pampas plume, and it is getting close. I have not succeeded with celosia in many years. It just has not wanted to grow for me. So it's nice to see it. We will harvest the stalks, and then we'll get lots of side shoots after that. And then we have Highlander and Lowlander grass we are still harvesting on. Then our final bed starts with these giant sunflowers, which is so funny because I did not plant sunflowers here. These guys are left over from last year. I had grown sunflowers here. This bed, I had excavated a lot of the soil and added fresh soil, and they still stuck around and came up, and I'm just so enjoying them. I've taken a few stems, but they're real tall, and I just love it. I love it. I'm just wanting them to be here. You can see them from far around, and I'm just treating them like a gift, not like something that needs to be harvested. Now, some of these stems, like this one, is going to be great. It's very, very long. It's going to have a nice head. I'll get those. But the ones that are already open and have like dropped their petals, those are staying for the birds and the bees. I've even seen hummingbirds on here, which is funny because I don't usually think about these as being flowers hummingbirds are attracted to. Our marigolds, I did a really hard harvest on, and you can see there are still so many in here. I thinned it as much as I could by taking really, really deep cuts, but these guys just, they're amazing. This is cocoa orange, tons of stems, and they won't stop until frost, as long as I keep cutting on them. Now we're gonna probably dry 90% of what I take out of here, but I have uses for those. And then this is another round of zinnias. And like I said, you can see this one's not completely done opening petals yet, so I didn't necessarily want to harvest it even though the stem is stiff and ready. I want these guys to get as full as possible. This is a mix. I don't know what the variety is. I don't really care because I am not selling to florists, so I don't need to label things. I can just give them to my customers and they enjoy them. And here we have our Azumi asters. I believe this is called Rose. I also have a blue variety at home, but they're not doing as well. These just so pretty and very tall stems. We have a bunch of these at home too. So these are an annual for us. We'll keep harvesting on those till they're done. And then this is blue wheat. And I have had 3 big shearbacks of this. Such a pretty grass. And it does have a blue tint to it. And I have gotten so many compliments from customers in the CSA on seeing this wheat in their bouquets. I just love it. And like I said, I just come in, I shear it down, and then it stems me up new stems. Finally, we've got some chamomile down here because I knew the feverfew was failing, and I have been getting nice long stems on this chamomile, and it is pretty good in bouquets in place of feverfew. Finally, our pollinator patch that we weeded and planted up, and it's looking good. So our Thornbergia, I can't remember this variety name. I'll look it up, put it on the screen for you guys, but this is a Proven Winners variety. It is climbing our trellis. We've got lots of borage coming back, which I think I will go ahead and pull for now because there'll be more in the spring. Our Coreopsis, looking beautiful. I harvested a bunch of stems off of this week. They're just so great, light and airy inside a bouquet. The Salvia is coming back, giving lots of stems. I had to cut it way hard back. And then our Verbena in here, just such a pretty color. Now, one of the other Coreopsis, this guy just struggling. I don't think it's enough irrigation for it right here. It's not established. Maybe if I planted it in the fall, it would be doing okay, but yeah, we'll see. This Salvia, looking beautiful. Did not cut it back because I wanted it to have one of the bees to have it. And then the Morning Glory we planted died. So as an experiment, definitely did not succeed. Not hardy enough for this area. But you can see all this Verbena is just gorgeous. And we've got more Coreopsis back there. So that's our July farm tour. Things are looking really good, and I am appreciating all the things that I'm able to harvest, knowing that the successions that I've done this year are going to continue to give me flowers so that my August and September weddings are going to be pretty much 100% supplied by the farm, which is fantastic. And then I'm looking forward to already to the fall when we can dig a lot of this out, get the beds completely renovated and cover cropped for next year. I do plan on planting a few things out here for the fall, even though I said I wasn't going to. So we are going to grow ranunculus out here. We are going to use that 8x4 raised bed that the zinnias are in now that had larkspur. We will add some compost to that, a lot of fertilizer, and then we will put our ranunculus corms in there. We're going to pre-sprout them. And because you grow ranunculus so close together, about 4 inches apart, we might be able to fit them all in there. And if not, I can put them in a bed at home, or I can pop them in a section of bed here because all the soil will have been remediated. We are also going to be growing a few fall veggies here. So yeah, some of these beds that are really highly producing right now, even without having the soil exchanged out yet, will get veggie growing in them for the fall. We're going to do things like lettuce and kale and maybe some carrots, not onions because those won't be ready in time for early spring planting of flowers. But maybe some broccoli and cauliflower, things like that, and cabbage. So that's some of the stuff that's going in. So but for flowers, we've got ranunculus. I did end up buying some tulips. We're going to do some of those at home. I have a bed, the tomato bed, that is big, and I can pack a ton of blooms in it. And that garden never gets enough sun for vegetables until April. And so the tulips will be long done by then. And that long bed has never had tulips in it. The 4 raised beds in the front of the garden, they have had tulips in them within the last 5 years. You really can't repeat location of tulips, or you might risk something called tulip fire, which would then destroy your whole crop. So we're going to do that. And then I am going to fall plant Statice and Feverfew. And then we'll also do another round in spring. So if those guys don't survive over the winter, then we'll do another round in spring. But I would like to have the Statice and the Feverfew in the ground because they do take a little bit longer. But this time I am going to plant out much bigger seedlings, much bigger in the fall. So we're going to start them a little earlier, and they'll go into these newly prepared beds, the ones that we've chunked out all the nasty soil and we've got fresh compost in there. They'll go in those beds and they should do a lot better because they won't be fighting clay to send their roots out. Statice is something I don't have this year, and that is a staple for me, especially the pink and apricot varieties, and not having that has been a loss for me personally. I rely on that plant. It doesn't take very much of those to give you huge harvests, and so I really need that back in the garden. Yeah, so that is the plan. I'm not going to plant out the whole garden like I always do, or the whole farm, because like I've said before, keeping seedlings alive from October to March is challenging because they're not really doing much growing and you got to keep a lot of pests off of them. But if I have a very small section of just Statice and Feverfew, and you don't need huge sections of those because they're so prolific, I can really focus on keeping them alive and keeping the pests off of them and keeping them safe from weird weather. And with good draining soil, I think we'll have a lot of success with those this year. So that's the plan. That is the tour of where we stand in July. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, let me know. I was thinking about collecting a ton of sweet pea seeds because we're going to pull all of them out. And if you would like me to send you some sweet pea seeds, a little bag of free seed, let me know in the comments because I'd be happy to do that. If you just send me your information, I'd be happy to send you a packet of sweet pea seeds. We have the high scent variety there, and then there was another light blue variety, and I can't remember what it's called, but in any case, they were fragrant and extremely productive, and they're very easy to grow. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you are interested, and if you are, then I can reach out to you some other way. Obviously, we won't exchange that information in the in the comments, but yeah, we can get each other's addresses, and I'll be happy to send you some sweet pea seed. Okay, thanks so much for hanging out. I hope you have a wonderful time in your garden and you are enjoying your summer, even if it's hot, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.